Okay, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Stage 2 LRT update webinar for McKellar Park and Westboro, and perhaps Westboro Beach as well. We may have some folks from there as well. It's hosted by the McKellar Park Community Association in conjunction with Kitchissippi Councillor Jeff Leeper. And my name, for those who don't know me, I'm Tom Peckloff. I work on transportation files in Jeff's office, and I will be moderating this evening. We have a lot to get to, so I will be as brief as possible. I am going to do some introductions. We do have Councillor Leeper with us, and Councillor Kavanaugh from Bay Ward as well. Jessica Maxwell, Stakeholder Relations, covering Kitchissippi Ward. Damon Berlin, Stakeholder Relations, covering Bay Ward. Leonore Evans, who is the Project Coordinator, Connectivity Review Rail Construction Program for the City of Ottawa. Martha Lush, Landscape Architect, Rail Construction Program, City of Ottawa. Katie Ingry, Public Art Officer, Public Art Program, City of Ottawa. We have Jamie Robinson, Director of Communications and Stakeholder Engagement for Kiewit. And Jennifer Falconer, Deputy Director, Communications and Stakeholder Engagement for Kiewit. And we will call the contractor Kev for short.
We also have Campbell and Bowden from there you go.
I just saw that, absolutely. I don't even know your official titles, to be perfectly honest. I talk to you almost every day.
I'm the program manager for traffic management. Lots of management in there, and Bowden is a traffic coordinator who works with me.
Well, we got 118 people up so far.
Excellent. Okay, well, welcome all. A quick note on our agenda for this evening. We will start with Katie doing a presentation on public art for the LRT stations. We will also, if there are any questions about public art, we will address those immediately after Katie's presentation. We will then move to Jessica with assistance from Damon on a presentation on a construction update, station overview, impacts, mitigation plans. Following that, we will have a connectivity presentation from Leonore Evans and Martha Lush. And after that, we will move to the Q&A. Now, the McKellar Park Community Association has compiled a lot of questions to begin with. We have probably about 40 questions that are in my hand right here. We will deal with those. Anyone who has not submitted a question in advance can still most definitely do so. You will see on the bottom of your screen the Q&A. That is where you will submit your questions. And once all the presentations are complete, we will go through as many as we possibly can. Should 9 o'clock roll around and we have, 2 or 3 left, we'll continue. Should 9 o'clock roll around and we have a whole pile left, we will definitely address them all offline through email responses. And with that, I think I will just pass it now on to Katie Ingry for our first presentation.
Thanks, Tom. So I'm going to try to share my screen here, so let me know when you can see something.
Yep, you can see it.
So I'm just gonna, there we go. How does that look? Is that full screen?
Yeah, it looks great.
Great. So hello, everybody. Thank you for letting me be a part of this meeting. It's a pleasure, and I'm really excited to be talking a little bit about some of the public art projects and work that's going to be going on in this community that has already been going on and is going to continue to go on. Some really exciting things. So my name is Katie Ingray. As Tom said, I'm a public art officer with the City of Ottawa's Public Art Program. I am coming to you from my home in Orleans on unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. And as I mentioned, I'm going to give you some information about some specific art projects that are going on in the Byron Linear Park and Richmond Road areas in the next couple of years. So just a little bit about the public art program. We were established in 1985 as one of the first in Canada. It's a city-run program. We obtain 1% funding from all city construction projects that are over $2 million. And we put that funding towards public art projects that you see in and around city facilities and outside. I'm sure you've all experienced at least a few of them. The O-Train Public Art Program is run out of the Public Art Program. I'm the project manager for the O-Train Public Art Program. We started running the program with the Stage 1 O-Train, and that was initiated in 2012 with the 13 stations. So we retained 24 artists for Stage 1 with multiple art projects in each of the stations, and specific focus at Pimisi Station for Algonquin Anishinaabe artists. So we retained 6 Algonquin Anishinaabe artists, along with a mentoring program for Algonquin artisans and heavy community engagement in for that station as well, related to the public art projects there. All of the stations had a variation of integrated or non-integrated artworks. So artworks that were an integral part of the design of the stations, and then others that were more standalone. And then we also have, in addition to that, we program a new gallery space for professional artists in the Rideau station, the West Concourse, which is called Corridor 4575. And you may have seen that going through the downtown. Stage 2 is continuing the O-Train Public Art Program with the Confederation Line Extension, Trillium Line extensions. So we are including artwork at every single station along the Confederation Line. We have 3 artist teams who are currently working away. They have progressed their designs and they are working integral with the station design teams. So each of those teams has about 5 to 6 stations that they're addressing and integrating public artwork into. And then the Trillium Line extension, we have 1 artist team who is working on a digital public art project within 3 stations, Limebank, Corso Italia, which is Gladstone, and South Keys. So they're kind of at the same level of progress. All those teams are at the same level of progress in their designs. So it's pretty exciting. Specifically though, to this community, to this meeting tonight, I want to talk a little bit more about a really exciting project that we're just initiating in the Byron Linear Park and Richmond Road areas. So back in 2012, we had identified this area as a really great opportunity for public art because we were aware of all of the construction and all of the work that was going to be taking place in the area. So due to that impact, we thought this would be a really great opportunity to initiate a project that we call civic art or civic practice or social practice that heavily focuses on working with the community and engaging with the community. And really the focus of the public art process is the process itself rather than the end result. There will be an end result of some kind, but the process is the thing that's going to really guide us towards what that end result is. And the process is going to be heavily involving the community. So because this was sort of a new type of project for us, we hadn't really done a project to this scale and a project this heavily involving the community in the past. We thought it might be great for us to strike an advisory group that can basically help guide us and help advise us through this process. So we retained a group of international social practice public art experts who continue to advise us today. There are members of the community on that advisory group, and they'll continue to advise us going forward. We also engaged a group of grassroots consultants to conduct an initial arts-based community engagement report in the Bay and Kitchissippi wards, and they did that work back in 2019, I want to say. And that report was the basis for the call to artists to retain an artist team. So they took a lot of that information, which was demographics, a snapshot of the cultural community and arts community in the area, including nonprofit and for-profit organizations. It was a really thorough and intense report that really helped to sort of lay the groundwork for the artist teams coming in. So after developing a social practice public art project, the pandemic hit. International politics and mindsets of cultural communities began to shift, which warranted a rethink of our project approach. So we pivoted the project to focus on community recovery and response using an arts-based approach. Based on that sort of scope, we conducted a 2-stage international competition to find a qualified artist team, and now we have one on board. We have yet to release the public winners announcement or the name of the winning team, so I can't tell you their identity yet, but it's coming very, very soon. It'll be coming in the next couple of weeks, 2 days, so that is imminent. The selected artist team, though, I can tell you, is a group of very enthusiastic and exciting individuals who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise in their fields, and will be working with the community towards providing the identified project outcomes. So the outcomes that we identified at the beginning of this project were to increase the number of new artists applying to the public art program opportunities, expand the definition of public art and create a space for new forms of public art. So when I say new forms, I mean not necessarily based on a tangible asset or a standalone sculpture, but more ephemeral or more system changes, things like that. Increase the scale and scope of civic arts practice as a public art form, retain national and international artist teams, agencies, to the O-Train Public Art Program to match the level of expertise that's happening within the Confederation Line and Trillium Line Extension public art projects, and increase awareness and support of public art in the Byron-Richmond community. So this is a really important and ambitious project for the City of Ottawa. Transit systems are now at the cusp of creating new social space for all people. So this project is a continuation of the Stage 1 public art projects, and it's a unique partnership between all 3 levels of government. So in the coming weeks, you'll start to hear from the artist team with invitations to upcoming fun and safe community events, some virtual for now, and then hopefully moving into in-person as allowable, and information about some exciting creative arts-based activities that will be taking place and circulating around your community. So please stay tuned. We'll connect with all of you in the near future. And I don't know if we want to do questions now or if we want to wait till the end, but I'm happy to do either.
Okay, happy to take questions on the public art now. I'm just checking the Q&A. I see none so far.
We've got one at the way bottom, Tom.
At the way, oh, there we go. Okay. Yes. Shirley M is asking, can you give some examples of this kind of ephemeral and systems change art?
Yeah, sure. Some examples. So things like temporary artwork is a really great opportunity to involve lots of members of the community. But when I say art, that's sort of a subjective term because it's using an arts-based approach. So it's using something like engaging artists to work with community members to address some of the gaps and the barriers that currently exist within the community, not necessarily within the cultural community, but within the entire community. So it could be things like, it was identified that garbage pickup was a problem in certain communities, and artists could work with the community to put out posters or to put out a campaign to help the community work together and pick up some of those gaps in the garbage collection, things like that, where it's not your typical or not your traditional idea of what you think public art might be, but it's using an arts-based approach towards those gaps and addressing those barriers. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
Thank you. Okay. And Shirley responds, I love it. Thanks, Katie. So that's great.
Good.
Heather Mitchell is wondering, is there an opportunity for community involvement moving forward? And can you tell me how we might be involved? Would you be reaching out to community associations?
Absolutely. So we are meeting with you tonight. You are on our list. We will keep you involved in the future. It is our total desire to involve as many people from the community as possible. I can't give too much away about what the artist team is proposing to do, but it's pretty exciting stuff. It's things like you know, making community newspapers, opportunities for play in the community, opportunities for relief, opportunities for storytelling, things like that. So we will definitely involve, as I said at the beginning of this is a very heavily community engaged project. So it's not going to be like your typical public art project where one day there's nothing in a space and then the next day, oh, there's a sculpture that pops up and you really have no idea how it got there. It's not really going to be like that. You're going to be involved in knowing why something is happening, and your input will be very very valuable to this process. So, and I know the artist team, and I know they want to work with the community, and they want to have meaningful participation, and not just like a consultation where they come, you see them once and they're gone. It's going to be really following up on those really important stories and important voices.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katie. Are there any other questions for Katie on public art? Well, thank you very much for being here.
I had my hand up, but I'm just wanted to say we look forward to having you in Bay Ward, and we'll have you at a meeting with our communities, being as we've got the other 6 stations there to work on. Thank you.
Excellent. Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm just seeing, Denny Paul, there's always a risk with public art that they look cool at first, but they get dated fast. What approach to keep things fresh and alive? And I think
that's a really great question. That's an awesome question. Yeah, and I agree. Things do get dated quickly. Well, as I mentioned, because these projects are going to be working with the community, you know, hopefully they tell the stories of the community, and I don't think that those kinds of stories can be dated quickly. So the visual that you will see at the end of all of this, or the visuals that you will see throughout, will really be driven by the community. So, you know, I think that connection and that tie is really going to help keep things, you know, and if they're intentionally meant to be dated, then they will be, and if not, then, you know, it will be responsive to what is going on in the community right now. So, and that will be great for the future. I think that'll tell the story of the community.
Okay, excellent. We do have one more. It was great to have the green space and a trail on the linear park. Are we going to lose that because of the public art program?
No, I don't think the public art program is going to be responsible for you losing any green space. If anything, I think that the artist team would really promote keeping what's really valuable to the community around, for sure. So no, we won't take any of that away.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And we are now going to move along to the construction update, station overview, impacts mitigation presentation, and I will turn it over to Jessica Maxwell, Damien Berlin.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Get my screen going here. Okay, can you see it in full screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Yep.
Okay, Tom's been over the agenda, so we'll get right to it. So good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Maxwell, and I'm the Stakeholder Relations Lead for Ward 15 for the Stage 2 project. I'll be giving most of this presentation, but I'm also joined by my colleague Damon Berlin, who is the Stakeholder Relations Lead for Ward 7 for the Stage 2 project. So he'll be covering some of the work going on the other side of Sherbourne and the ward boundary. So we'll get right into it. So between Tunney's Pasture and Dominion stations, work has begun to prepare for the Transitway detour, which will run along Scott Street and will begin in April of next year. The Transitway detour will result in buses operating in general traffic along Scott Street between Tunney's Pasture Station and Churchill Avenue. Scott Street is being widened to accommodate an exclusive eastbound transit lane between the Lanark Avenue and Island Park Drive. Additionally, the MUP on the north side of Scott Street will be increased in width to 4 meters. And during the Transitway detour, the Westboro station platforms will be relocated to Scott Street. And detours along Scott Street to facilitate this work to prepare the Scott Street detour will be in place starting in the fall. So west of Churchill Avenue, Scott Street will be extended as a temporary transitway roadway to Dominion Station. This temporary transit-only roadway will be on the south side of the existing transitway until a point just east of Roosevelt Avenue, at which point it will cross to the north side of the existing transitway south of Workman Avenue until it meets the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway in the vicinity of the existing Dominion Station. Prior to the start of the Transitway detour, noise mitigation will be installed along the south side of Workman Avenue. Aspects of the design for this noise mitigation are still being worked on, so more information will be available prior to the start of the detour next April.
Sorry, Jessica, if I may just ask on the previous slide, the construction of a transit-only bridge at Roosevelt Avenue, what does that timeline look like?
That's in my next slide, actually, Counselor. No worries. So during the Scott Street detour that will start next year, the new temporary transit-only roadway will cross the Transitway Trench on a new temporary transit-only bridge, which will be installed this summer. In order to build this bridge, the existing Roosevelt pedestrian bridge must be removed. This removal will occur in May, though the date has yet to be finalized. Utility relocation and other preparatory works for the pedestrian bridge removal and the bus bridge installation are already underway. Following the removal of the pedestrian bridge, pedestrians will be detoured to the east or to the west to cross the transitway at either Churchill Avenue or at the Parkway intersection. This detour will be in place for the duration of this work and the Scott Street Transitway detour. The pedestrian detour signage will be posted 2 weeks in advance of the detour starting. Post-construction, following the removal of the Scott Street Transitway detour, the Roosevelt pedestrian bridge will be reinstated in its original alignment. So on this slide here, we have an illustration of where the bus bridge will carry the transitway detour above the existing transitway trench. This is a very rough illustration, but it does show sort of how that transition will happen. So here we have an east-facing aerial image of the currently named Dominion Station area. The station will adopt Kitchissippi as its new station name as part of Stage 2. So north of the Kitchissippi Station area, utilities relocation work between Atlantis Avenue, the Parkway, and Kitchissippi Lookout is advancing. This work will require closure of Atlantis Avenue between Lanark and Selby. Local access for residents will be maintained, and a notice of road closure will be delivered to affected residents ahead of the closure starting, which is currently anticipated for mid-May. So here on this slide, we have a depiction of the future track alignment from Kitchissippi Station, indicating the transition from the above ground to below ground alignment. So from Kitchissippi Station on the right-hand side, The train will continue at grade until it proceeds into a trench behind the Canadian Institute for Health Information, which will lead it into the Parkway Tunnel at Rochester Field. From grade, it is a gradual 5% slope to the tunnel depth of approximately 10.5 meters. And I believe there was a question sort of how this transition was happening. So I hope this illustration provides an answer to that question. Installation of the slurry walls to support the eventual tunnel excavation along the area behind 655 Richmond between Rochester Field and Cleary Avenue is progressing. And over the next two slides, so this one and the next one, we have some images depicting the operations at this site. So we'll give everyone a few moments to look at those. I have corresponded with a few residents regarding issues about loud music, profanity, and dust here at the slurry plant location. Kev endeavors to be a good neighbor and responsive to complaints when they are received, especially where it concerns loud noises. Corrective messaging is always issued to the on-site crews. To control dust, the access road within this site is currently sprayed and swept at least twice a day. A dust suppressant will be laid down on the road within the next 2 weeks. This will reduce the need for the daily spraying and sweeping, but spraying and sweeping will continue on an as-needed basis after the dust suppressant is laid down. These mitigation efforts help to reduce dust, but cannot completely eliminate it. So in the Cleary Avenue and Richmond Road area, excavation related to utility relocation work in order to make room for the construction of the tunnel is continuing. Installation of a new 13-meter deep sanitary manhole for the West Nepean collector sewer is ongoing. And installation of a new water main will occur this summer with a completion expected in August. During that work, road detours will have to be implemented. Utility relocation work in this area is expected to be completed by the end of the year. And then excavation work for the portion of the tunnel where it will cross Cleary Avenue, connecting the Byron Linear Park segment of the tunnel to the SGM Parkway segment of the tunnel, will start once the utility relocation work is complete. So here on this slide, the red shading represents where the alignment and excavation does cross Cleary Avenue. So this work will start next year once all the utility relocations in the area are complete. Detours will be required to complete this work as well. And this is a very sort of rough sketch, but the pink line, which I hope is visible to everyone, does represent where sidewalks will be maintained to preserve pedestrian access while that work is going on. Excavation work within the Byron Linear Park at the Sherbourne Station area is expected to begin in late June once the retaining walls or secant piles have been built. And here's where I'm going to turn things over to Damon, who will go over the work occurring within Byron Linear Park all the way to Woodruff. If you attended Tuesday's information session with Councillor Kavanagh, a lot of this will sound familiar. So Damon, I'll turn it over to you with the next slide.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. And thank you very much, Councillor Leeper, Councillor Kavanagh, and everybody for joining and spending your evening with us. For those of you who are with me on Tuesday night, sorry, same voice, same face, same message. But let's spice it up.
What a new time.
Byron Linear Park. As Jessica just noted, work is occurring, work is progressing. And the theme of 2020 was utility relocation, utility creation, relocation, renewal. And that is still ongoing, but closing to finish. And really it's so important because it does make way for all of these other aspects that are so important. Paving began west of Woodruff, is progressing east of Woodruff, will progress into May, but that is a really nice thing. For those of you who live on Byron, I know that the work on Byron has created an additional level of dust, and I do appreciate that that is challenging at the best of times. So with luck, once that gets paved, then the temporary concrete barriers will get reinstalled. Eco barriers will be installed atop that. That will further mitigate the dust. The streets will get swept. The dust will get, Jessica made some great points. That dust is going to have dust suppressant put on it over the weekends when work isn't occurring. But as you may have heard from the folks west of Woodruff, work has been occurring on the weekends. It is Kev's intention, at least currently, and we will keep you updated, but they have advanced the rock breaking and excavation of the tunnel west of Woodruff by leaps and bounds. Over 2 weekends, they achieved the work of 2 full weeks. By reallocating resources that are otherwise required during the week, they've advanced that excavation, they've advanced the removals. And while the impact feels never ending for those weeks that it's ongoing, once it shifts, all of a sudden there's a respite, and it's your neighbor who just doesn't like you. But they too will find that respite. Towards the end of May, we're going to find a 13-day closure of Woodruff. I am going to go into a few more details about that in a slide or two. And lastly, I'd say that what we have are approved truck haul routes within the city of Ottawa. But beyond that, we have traffic control plans that are submitted and approved for all elements of work. With every traffic control plan, we have haul routes that we approve. Now, a haul route is going to get those vehicles to the City of Ottawa's approved truck routes in the shortest distance possible. That may make you feel like there are trucks riding on residential roads, and they are, but they are doing their best to get off onto the approved routes. The cut and covered tunnel, as Jessica mentioned, will be to an average approximate depth of 10.5 meters. I mentioned that there's been a few weeks of weekend work at New Orchard Station. New Orchard Station reached its maximum depth of 10.5 meters last week, which is huge. What's also pretty amazing is the only remaining elements of excavation in that area are the elevator pits and the sump pump pits, at which point that work is going to shift. The entirety of the cut and cover tunnel from the Byron section and the Parkway tunnel, the rough estimation is that that work will continue until 2023. I can just imagine eyes rolling and voices sighing, though because this is virtual, I can only imagine it. But note, the impactful work is not always going to be the work, right? Sure, rock breaking, that's not an easy pill to swallow. But when we start talking about concrete pours, well, a concrete truck is noisy in itself, but the concrete pouring, that's not so bad. Installation of formwork. I mean, there are activities that will occur that will be construction and in your face, but won't be the level of, oh my gosh, I need to move kind of impact. I'm quoting emails I get. Next slide, please. What I have here are a few photos that represent the work that has been achieved west of Woodruff. And I think you'll be quite impressed, as I am when I look at these images, at the level of progress being made. And while I can definitely attest to the frustrations one feels, especially when there are young kids and we're in COVID, it all seems to be the perfect storm. The perfect storm leads to great results. Sunny skies at the end of the day. Next slide. Now, I did tell you about a 13-day closure of Woodruff. Ultimately, what we are aware of is that the train will be progressing east and west through the Byron Linear Park. underneath the Byron Linear Park, pardon me. In order to achieve a cut and cover tunnel underneath Woodruff Avenue, we are required to close Woodruff Avenue for 13 days, beginning on May 28th. That will allow Kev to excavate, break rock, get to a depth where that they could put a metal decking, and you probably experienced driving through construction zones and going over a metal plate over the road. That is effectively what we are going to have here. The ability for traffic to resume on Woodruff, north and south, once this closure is over. Wow. This, if you remember that slide previous, that's going to occur underneath the decking, but connectivity will be maintained. You'll note, hopefully, there's some blue arrows on the right side of the red block. That's pedestrian access. Pedestrians, cyclists will be made available to cross Richmond and get through the Byron Linear Park. That connectivity will be maintained. The funeral home and the Lady of Fatima Church access will be maintained. If you are attempting to travel and you need to get south, well, you would go to Croydon in the west and Churchill in the east. Those are the signed detours. I am not advocating or recommending that people cut through the neighborhoods. For those of you living in the neighborhoods, please note people will cut through your neighborhoods. It is 13 days. The signed detours are not through your neighborhoods. We can't control those vehicles who choose to make bad choices. The message I give to myself. And here we are. Next slide, please. And I believe that might be the end of me.
Yep.
Excellent. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll be around for questions should you have any towards the end. Thanks a lot, Jessica. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Damon. You did a great job as well. So moving on to the next slide, here we have some figures which quantify the amount of work that is going to be completed this year. For the Parkway Tunnel between Rochester Field and Cleary Avenue, 42,000 cubic meters of material will be excavated this year. For the Byron Linear Park tunnel portion between Cleary Avenue and Woodruff Avenue, 53,000 cubic meters of material will be excavated. In total, along this Parkway tunnel alignment that you see on the image, 179,000 cubic meters of material will be excavated in 2021. So here on this slide, we have some figures quantifying the materials being used to build the tunnel structure. So 813 cubic meters of concrete, 1,001 square meters of formwork, and 111 tons of rebar will be installed this year for the Byron Linear Park portion between Cleary Avenue and Woodruff Avenue. To help quantify and visualize those amounts, 1,000 square meters, so the amount of formwork being used, is equivalent to approximately 2/3 the size of an NHL rink, and 111 tons is within the range of the average weight of a blue whale. So 111 tons of rebar is what they'll be installing. For the tunnel portion between Rochester Field and Cleary Avenue, 9,256 cubic meters of concrete, 11 and 22,000 square meters of formwork, and 1,124 tons of rebar will be installed this year. So to quantify that as well, 1,100 tons would be roughly the equivalent of 9 blue whales, and 11,022 square meters is approximately 7 times the size of an NHL rink. So we'll now move to an overview of the stations. So Westboro Station, once converted to light rail use, will have a main entrance on Scott Street and a second entrance on the north side of the Transitway Trench. 40 bike parking spaces will be located in the main entrance plaza, and passenger pickup and drop-off spaces will be provided along Scott Street. Construction on the Westboro station is expected to start in June 2022 and completed in September 2023. Kitchissippi Station will be located within the Transitway Trench with a public entrance plaza at grade. This plaza will provide a pedestrian connection from Dominion Avenue to Berkeley Avenue. 60 bike parking spaces will be provided within this plaza, and passenger pickup and drop-off spaces will be provided along Dominion Avenue. Construction of Kitchissippi Station is expected to start in July 2022 and be completed in March 2023. Some concerns have been expressed regarding the traffic related to the passenger pickup and drop-off area that will be provided along Dominion. The LRT station is going to serve the same function as the current bus station, and the level of drop-off or pickup traffic is not expected to increase dramatically as a result. While today, vehicles might simply pull over along the side of the road of Dominion to pick up or drop off a passenger, the addition of these time-restricted, designated drop-off and pickup spaces simply dedicate an official space to fulfill that function that people might already be doing and keep them away or off of the general traffic lanes. Sherbourne Station will be a new station located within Byron Linear Park, west of Cleary Avenue. 20 bike parking spaces will be provided in the entrance plaza, and passenger pickup and drop-off spaces along Byron Avenue. Station construction is expected to start in June 2022 and completed in November 2023. And just like this evening, we're focusing on the work being completed in 2021. A lot of preparatory works, utilities relocation, excavation work. We'll host another one of these information sessions going over the work in 2022 and 2023, and that's where we'll start to have more information about what station construction will entail. So we'll move on now to the some of the anticipated impacts of construction. So one of those, of course, of interest is always the hours of work. So the majority of work will occur from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays. Intermittent weekend and night work will occur in some areas. Weekend daytime work will generally begin at 8 a.m. on Saturdays and at 9 a.m. on Sundays. On work hours, some important things to be aware of are that construction is permitted to occur between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. This goes for all construction work in Ottawa. Is permitted to work 7 days a week, and there is no mechanism which exists to prevent work taking place 7 days a week. As part of their COVID-19 pandemic response, the provincial government has superseded the City of Ottawa noise bylaws, allowing daytime work to begin at 6 a.m. rather than 7 a.m. and continue to 10 p.m. Monday to Sunday. Affected ward councillors have the ability to play a role in the issuance of noise bylaw exemption permits as they relate to night work. So continuing with the impacts, of course, noise and vibration from trucks circulating throughout the construction corridor, as well as the equipment being used to complete excavation work can continue to be expected. Noise and vibration levels are continuously monitored and reported to the city to ensure that they remain within the limits established for the project. We did talk about dust suppression and street sweeping, Damon and I. So that will be ongoing throughout the corridor. Site lighting for overnight work can be required, and where it is, the effort is made to make sure it's pointed away from residences so it doesn't stream into sleeping areas. All pedestrian, cycling, bus, and vehicular movements will generally be maintained during construction, apart from road closures, such as the 13-day closure at Woodruff and Richmond. And when vehicular movements are maintained, this can sometimes be through detours, so it might be a little bit different from the paths you may be used to. All pedestrian and cycling movements are, of course, maintained even when there is a closure, as Damon pointed out, for Woodruff and Richmond. And no matter what method you use to get around, car, public transportation, walking, cycling, it's important for everybody to use extra caution when moving through construction zones and really pay attention to detour signage, which can change. Okay, so I know that there has been a lot of information presented already tonight, and we still have one other component to get through. And a lot of questions have been submitted in advance. I've been watching the Q&A number tick up. Some of the questions have been addressed throughout this presentation, but of course, as Tom mentioned in the beginning, he and I will be making sure that all questions that aren't able to be answered tonight are answered offline. And as always, please feel free to contact Damon or myself with your questions and concerns. To help us manage our workflows, please reach out to Damon if you have questions or concerns about construction west of Sherbourne, and to myself if you have questions or concerns about construction east of Sherbourne. It's divided here based on the wards, which is how we sort of divide our stakeholder relations team. So before we move on to the Q&A, I'll turn things over to Leonor, who will be providing us with an update on the connectivity review, which was undertaken last summer. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that Leonor can.
Thanks, Jessica. I'll just upload this. See if that works. And now go to slideshow. Try again. So do you see it in a slideshow format?
You're showing your notes. Oh, no, sorry. You're showing a preview version.
Oh.
So main slide and next slide.
Leonor, if you go at the top to display settings.
That's right. That's right.
And then click on the little triangle.
Where's display settings?
Yeah, your Zoom menu bar might be covering it. It might just be very slightly exposed. So if you go back to your slideshow icon that you were in.
Okay, yeah.
So click on that. And then, so you see at the top where it says show taskbar?
Yeah.
So just to the right of that, see that little icon with the screen? Just go over a little bit to the right.
Yeah, one more. Display settings.
The next one over is mute.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's hiding under your Zoom menu. So
oh, that's funny.
Leonor, the Zoom menu, you can actually move it out of the way.
Ah, that
so
worked.
if you go back to the slideshow.
I'm sorry, everyone.
It's okay. I had the same issue earlier.
We all had to figure it out too. Don't worry about it.
Trying again. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not resuming. Can I just do this? Can you see this now? Does that work?
I can see that all right, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to slides now for some reason.
And you can also, Leonor, shrink your top toolbar at the far right with the little pin. It'll disappear.
This one. Oh, technology is not my friend this evening. All right, well, I mean, I think the important part is really to get to the Q&As, and I don't really have that much information to share. So much has already been shared. Everybody's tired. We just want to get to the Q&A. So I'm just going to zoot through here. My name's Leonor Evans. I'm a project coordinator in the Stage 2 LRT office. Some of the acronyms that we use a lot are MUP, multi-use pathway, PAPUDO, passenger pickup and drop off, a PXO, which is a pedestrian crossover, a cross ride, which is a cycling crossing at an intersection, and a cycle track, which is a raised, separated cycling lane. So really the purpose of the connectivity review was to look at how pedestrians and cyclists get to and through the stations. And as Jess has already shared, Kitchissippi Station, formerly known as Dominion, is, well, we do have that final location. I know there was a question posed earlier about where that station will be located. So there is a final location, and you can see here the pathways as they'll run west towards Churchill and north towards Workman, as well as over to the Sir John A. Macdonald there, and then south or east towards and along the Sir John A. Macdonald. So a lot of this has already been covered. The main item that I really wanted to bring to the group today is that we are adding lighting along the pathway between the station and Churchill. So that was not originally included in the project agreement. However, we've reviewed all of the recommendations that were brought to us by Plan Design, who led the 2020 connectivity review, and that was one that we're going to go forward with. Some of the other items that we maybe didn't touch on, well, the Roosevelt pedestrian bridge that was mentioned already. There will also be a sidewalk along the east side of Berkeley. That's another item that's in the project agreement. And then there's the crossings, pedestrian crossings of the Sir John A. Macdonald. So both of the ones highlighted in this slide will be pedestrian signals across the Sir John A. Macdonald. There's another project down here, the F, which is currently being worked on by our colleagues in the Transportation Planning Group. However, it has not yet been finalized. So they're working with OCH to see if we can get a pedestrian and cycling cut through here. And if that does go ahead, then that would also require some cycling modifications to the Richmond and Golden intersection. The other big change that we're doing at Kitchissippi Station, and as you heard from Jess, we're putting in 60 bike parking spaces there. So we're really expecting, it's like the bike shed. All the residents from the north and the south, it'll be a great station to bike to, as well as bike through. So we determined it would be important to separate the users at this station. So cyclists will be on asphalt, and then the pedestrians will be on the plaza, or the pavers of the plaza. So that's really Kitchissippi. Here is a high-level overview of the pedestrian crossings along the Sir John A. Macdonald. So there's 4 of them between Cleary and Churchill. Churchill will be an underpass, so completely grade separated. Kitchissippi and at Rochester Field, those will be pedestrian signals. And down at Cleary, which connects into Sherbourne Station, that will be another underpass there. So those are 4 really, I think, important improvements for the neighborhood. So Sherbourne, Jess has already touched on Sherbourne, and to be honest, there weren't really any connectivity enhancements recommended for Sherbourne. Maybe the one item I didn't touch on is that Redwood will close Byron. So that's a big change. Again, it's really about trying to increase pedestrian and cyclist safety as people get to and travel through the stations. So the last 2 slides I'm going to pass over to Martha, and she's going to talk about Richmond Complete Street and the Byron Linear Park, and then we'll get to questions.
Okay, so I don't know if some of you remembered, I was involved with the preliminary design back in 2016, 2017 for Richmond Road Complete Street, Byron Lineal Park, and all the great discussions we had over the ultimate location of the alignment. So basically what we're here to say this evening is what we committed to back in 2016 is what we are still committed to, what the city is still committed to completing in 2020 and moving forward into the final agreement and the final construction of Byron Lineal Park, Byron Avenue, and Richmond Road. So Leonore's talked about the highlighted sections on here are the pedestrian crossings of Richmond Road that have been integrated into the contract. What we had talked about earlier was the idea that, or the decision that the pedestrian crosswalks to the most part align with the proposed bus stops along Richmond Road. So if you lived on either the north or the south side of Richmond or the south side of Byron, that if you were going to or from the bus stop, that you would have a clear line of approach. So you have we wanted to strengthen that connectivity between the two sides of the Richmond-Byron corridor. You can see New Orchard Station and Sherbourne are clearly indicated there. So we're just maintaining what we said we were going to do. And the good news is that there's no change. The status quo is moving forward. And Leonore, if I could have the second slide, please. So this is again what we're proposing to do for Byron Lineal Park, very much a space where there's lots of recreational opportunities. Public art could happen in some of the nodes that are developed along the corridor, and really kind of seeing this as an environmental passageway that has the rain gardens, lots of plant material and shrubs, great walking. It will be lit. So right now, Byron is not lit. We committed to and are maintaining the commitment to lighting the pathway along the corridor. So if you're on the south side of Richmond, the north side of Byron, you've got a well-articulated lit pathway that will provide connectivity to both stations as well as to the community. And the last one, I believe, is there one last one, Leonore, was the station?
Nope, that's it.
Nope. Perfect. So
thanks, Martha.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'm going to stop sharing now and pass it back to Tom or Jessica.
Okay, thank you, Leonore. Okay, so it is time now for the Q&A, and I'm going to make a very bold prediction and say that there's no chance we're going to get through all the questions in the time remaining. But this is what we'll do. For whatever questions we do not get answered tonight, I will work with Jessica and with Damon. We'll get them all answered, and we'll do a one-stop shop blog post on kitchissippiward.ca with every answer on these 7 pages and all the ones that are on the Q&A. Whatever we don't get to tonight, we will answer in a blog post. We will be able to share this presentation on our website as well. And as you probably know, I am recording it, and this video will be on our Kitchissippi Ward YouTube channel. So without further ado, the first question, we talked a lot about some timelines, but the first question comes from Sybil Powell from the McKellar Park Community Association. And it's more questions about completion. So specific questions, when should we expect to have a section completed between Dominion and Fraser, between Fraser and Cleary, Cleary, Sherbourne, Sherbourne to Woodruff and Sherbourne Station? Are there going to be lulls in construction during this time?
I think I'll start with that question. So it's a bit tricky to say when an area will be completed, just because there's many phases to what needs to get done. But that being said, in that area that Sybil has described, which is mostly parallel to the parkway between Kitchissippi and Sherbourne Station, that's not an area that requires station construction. It's construction mostly related to the tunnel itself. And then once the tunnel is built, inside the tunnel, the guideway and the track being laid down, and then the testing and commissioning. So really through 2025, when the project is expected to be completed, there's a lot of different milestone completion dates, but certainly in some areas there will be a wrap up or a tightening up of the construction site sooner than in others, especially in this case where there's no station that's being built in that green space along the parkway. So eventually the work will be confined into the guideway in the tunnel, whereas at Cleary and Richmond and the Byron and Sherbourne, where Sherbourne Station is being built, there's going to be into 2023 construction still going on there for the station, as well as the guideway and laying of the track into 2024 and the testing and commissioning into 2025. So I'm not sure if anybody else wants to add to that, but yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Dan O'Hagan from the Community Association had a question about dust. I think we did talk about dust mitigation fairly comprehensively. Dan, you can take that offline if you have any further questions. I'm happy to help you with that. David Brasco from the Community Association, connectivity, can we be assured that pedestrian connectivity north-south across the Transitway and the new LRT trench at Dominion will be maintained throughout the duration of the project, or will there be a pedestrian detour perhaps all the way east to Churchill?
Do you want me to take a stab at that one, Tom?
Sure.
So in effect, there will be a way to cross the Transitway. We need to be able to get to that north, I guess the westbound platform that's on the north side of the Transitway. So that will be maintained at all times. There will be a way to get to the north side at, I guess, where the signalized intersection is with the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway is today. And so I don't know if that's the specific question that the resident had, but if so, that is the answer.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Campbell. From Brian LeGros, once the tunnel is constructed, when will work start on realignment of the parkway and completion of the surrounding green space? I don't know if anyone would take a stab at that one, or that's not one we can take back. And,
I see Jamie talking, but he's still on mute.
Yeah.
Jamie, you got this?
Oh,
there we go.
There you go.
Yes,
yeah.
Good.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think we're going to, that's a lot further down the road, but let's take that offline and get a good answer for you. I think that's the best way to proceed on a question like that. Thanks for that question, but we'll work with folks to provide an answer.
And I would just add that as we see the timeline for the station construction, and then a finish date, we can sort of track from there that, they're going to finish that road work and aligning the SJAM basically around or subsequently after that time before landscaping and all of that takes place. So we're kind of looking at 2024, probably around there.
Thank you. Next two questions come from Chuck Davies. According to past media reports, noise levels from LRT operations at Tunney's Pasture and presumably elsewhere have been proven to be higher than expected. Are measures being taken to mitigate this problem in the phase 2 design and construction? And what noise levels should we expect in the area around Sherbourne Station when train operations begin?
Would you like me to take that, Jess?
Sure.
Chuck is referring to probably what is occurring at 215 Parkdale. That situation that is occurring there is being worked on with noise mitigating panels being installed in the trench. In fact, we're at a point where we're going to be doing some noise readings, Councillor and Tom, in the coming weeks to see exactly how much benefit this next level of mitigation has occurred. With respect to your question, Chuck, the because it's going to be in a tunnel, really not replicated situations. At Sherbourne Station, as it's an open air station, of course, there shall be noise. We'll remember a few things. Within a station, there are many speakers. The reason for that is so that the volume doesn't have to go super loud, but everyone can hear clearly when announcements are made. Furthermore, you will likely, during the testing and commissioning stage, experience the ringing of bells. That's what I experienced in stage 1 with many of my residents in our areas, that before the audible messaging system comes online, you do have bells. Those have been anecdotally proven to be more impactful than the audible message. Lastly, the Rideau Transit Maintenance Group is responsible for the general upkeep of the system, and that includes noise and vibration as the output from the vehicles. Suffice to say that if you, Chuck, or any of your neighbors were to complain at 75 Cleary about excessive noises or vibrations, then the monitoring will occur, and in fact, they wouldn't get paid. I like getting paid, and I know that our team does as well. I know that this doesn't actually answer your questions, but until there's an operation, we really won't know, but we do have mechanisms in place to protect you, the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, David. The next question from Chuck. This webinar is a much welcome event, but long overdue as construction has been going on for many months. However, this kind of general community engagement event doesn't provide an appropriate forum for the kind of neighborhood-specific two-way communications needed by residents living in very close proximity to the construction work. Will the city and KEV establish a mechanism for site-specific localized engagement with these residents? So I'll take this one. In a word, yes. So what's going to happen in the very near future, sometime in May, Jessica and I will meet every Monday morning with a weekly look ahead of what we can expect in our ward at every station. And I will pass that information on to community association executives or condo board presidents, or basically anyone who wants to know. So we will be having that type of communication, and that will begin sometime in the next few weeks.
I'm not sure if it'll be Mondays, Tom, but we're definitely going to work something out
yeah.
to address that.
Fair enough, fair enough. I just assumed Monday because that's a perfect day for a look ahead, but I'll take it anytime I can get it, absolutely.
I think Chuck just misses our monthly get-togethers.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it was 2 years, and I miss you, Chuck. I miss you, Dan. I miss you, Fiona. Sybil, I miss you, everyone.
From Dr. Diego Garcia, a question around Kitchissippi Station. All the mature trees have been removed. The area will be covered by solid non-permeable surfaces. This increases the risk of localized flooding and will contribute to higher local temperatures during summer given light reflection. What are the designed mitigating proposed features? Any permeable surfaces, green areas, blue roofs, and water capture structures?
Damon, I'm not sure if you have any, historical stage one knowledge on that, but that's definitely a question that I've already prepared to deal with offline, Tom, as it was one of the advanced ones.
Sure.
I would simply say that the station is a head house at grade, and the rest of it's in the tunnel. The tunnel today is non-permeable with a concrete base. That will be the same situation within the trench. I said tunnel, I meant trench, I apologize. Now the pedestrian plaza, which will be in front of the head house, will again be non-permeable. However, the rest of it will be landscaped. Grass, trees, shrubs. We don't have a landscape plan. Those tend to follow the construction. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you, Damon. From Jeff Palmer, how much OC Transpo bus traffic is expected on the Parkway once the project has been wrapped up?
Well, stage 2 will eliminate approximately 450,000 bus trips from the Parkway daily. Certainly,
annually. Annually.
Oh, annually. Oh, yeah. No, that's a lot for one day. My apologies. 450,000 annual bus trips from the Parkway is what Stage 2 will eliminate. Certainly, OC Transpo might have the need to run certain transit down there, perhaps paratranspo, for example, or when we'll see the detour routes. I'm not certain what the plan is for those Stage 2, like as the R1 routes are now. But that's something else that I've got on my list to confirm with OC Transpo offline.
Okay, thank you. Will Byron Avenue be closed to through traffic at Redwood to divert increased traffic back to Richmond Road? The avenues from Byron to Keenan and Dovercourt have no sidewalks. Any increased parking will force children to walk in the middle of the street. Cars rushing to drop off people for the train will pose a danger if they are permitted to drive and park on residential streets. How do you plan on keeping rush hour traffic and parking off residential streets?
That sounds like a Campbell.
I thought that might be coming. So there's a lot of facets to that question. And so if I miss anything in my response, do feel free to follow up with me, Tom, and I'll draft up a more fulsome answer. But broadly speaking, yes, we're closing Redwood between Byron and Richmond as part of the plan for the station area and the linear park in general. And there are indeed other streets in the area that allow a vehicle to get from Richmond to Byron and vice versa. So we don't foresee that there's going to be a massive influx of traffic into the neighborhood as a result of this one connection closure. And the studies that were done when we were doing the plan for the linear park, my recollection, although it has been a while, is that they did not show any problematic traffic increase in that regard. I guess really the other thing to remember is that we're building this train, in fact, to encourage a change in modal split in transportation across the city. We're doing this to encourage more people to walk and bike to get to the train and leave their car at home. And so combined with the general smaller amount of traffic that already uses that exact area with all the other changes that are coming in, we see no particular reason to think that there's going to be a huge influx of traffic on neighborhood streets, but we will remain certainly very reactive to what we see in the area following the beginning of revenue service.
Sorry, Campbell, it's Martha. If I can also add, we've also are including sidewalks on the south side of Byron Avenue, so that someone walking to the school has a sidewalk to walk on, whereas right now Byron does not have any sidewalks. And the connections through Byron Lineal Park will allow pedestrians to safely travel along that east-west corridor and be in a safe environment rather than on a side of the road. So we had thought a lot about the pedestrian movements when we were doing the preliminary design.
Okay, thank you. Next question comes from Ken Anderson. How high above the existing grade will the final berm be atop the Parkway Trench, for instance, behind 687 to 701 Richmond? Will it affect river views from properties backing or fronting on the SGN Parkway?
I think that's a me question. Can you repeat that?
Absolutely. So how high above the existing grade will the final berm be atop the Parkway Trench behind 687 to 701 Richmond? Will it affect river views from properties backing or fronting on the SGN Parkway?
No, we are actually not planning on putting any berms along that portion. There was, during the preliminary design, when Cleary Station was initially north of Richmond, where we had some berms. And with the shift away from the Sir Johnny MacDonald, there's no longer a requirement for any berms.
Is the road surface, the parkway, going to be at the same grade that it is currently?
Plus or minus, yes.
Okay.
The only location where we're really raising the grade approximately by 1.5 meters is at the Churchill underpass, pedestrian underpass.
Yep.
So we want to do a little bit up and down to make sure that we didn't have flooding in the springtime.
And Damon and I have been through that with some residents close by in depth. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The next question from Ken Anderson. Will the city reduce property taxes for residences and businesses directly adjacent to the construction as was done downtown?
I'm very curious to know where the information was that there were rebates downtown, because having done this job in stage 1, there was no rebates, though there were many requests. It is not city policy to give rebates on construction impacts for those experiencing, just that it is not the city's interest to take a portion of, say, increases in property value due to infrastructure improvements. It is simply one of those things. The advantage is that we do have a world-class system that we'll be able to utilize, unlike the condo building that was built next door that I don't have any benefit from. Thank you.
Ken, drop me a line if you'd like to explore that further.
And the next question, when will you A, be repairing existing potholes already reported on Richmond Road, B, completing the overdue reconstruction of Richmond Road? So there is a resurfacing project, which I believe is set for later this year on Richmond. And that is much needed.
If you see potholes, the quickest way to get those done is to report them to 311. That actually triggers a quick response to fill those. But we were fortunate to get the city to accelerate a resurfacing of Richmond. We asked them to come out, take a look, and it's clearly needed. So that the council voted the budget this year.
Okay, next question from Radoslav Brakov. Many residents in the vicinity of 650 to 700 Richmond Road are already experiencing inconvenience from vibrations from vehicles traveling on Richmond. Is there anything being done to ensure that the trains are not going to cause a similar issue given the soil quality?
So the train itself, when it's in operation, is not expected to be detectable by any properties or buildings that are adjacent, especially 655 Richmond. The train will be running in a tunnel underneath that green space in the parkway. The walls of the tunnel will be sufficiently thick that there should not be any vibrations felt. And certainly the work to build that tunnel is much more disruptive than the train is going to be once it's in operation.
Okay, thank you. Are things generally on schedule? Are there any impacts from COVID-19? This is from Mike Hyman.
Probably let Jamie or Jen take that one.
Yeah, I'm happy.
So far, so good. Yeah, Jamie might have a bit to add, but so far, so good. And, you know, we've been pretty adaptable and done the pivot thing and, you know, managing to sort of, you know, change schedule items if needed. You know, maybe earlier days there were supply issues or, you know, maybe some staffing or craft work that workers that might have been, you know, a little slow to turn and come to the project. But I think overall we're in good shape and we've got a lot of problem solvers on our project. So when hurdles come up, it seems to be going well. So yeah, Jamie.
You know, no, you hit all the points, Jen, which is great. And I just reiterate a couple of it. You know, Damon mentioned earlier when we know it's really disruptive to folks when we do work on weekends and things like that. But by doing some work during the daytimes on weekends, we can make some better progress that way, which is great. And so, and the other thing is that if anything that you know, one of the challenges has been is getting those workers. You know, we're looking to really increase our hiring this year. We're bringing on lots more people, and labor is a bit of an issue in the Ottawa market. There's a lot of infrastructure being built, not only here, but we're looking elsewhere to bring in the appropriate workers to work on the project, to get the job done, to get it out of the community as quickly as possible.
Jamie. From Leslie Caswell, she is wondering, is it possible on the weekends to make an opening at the bottom of Fraser to allow safer and easier access to the parkway for cyclists and pedestrians, etc.?
I don't think that's possible for a while. Obviously, safety is paramount, and you know, just the level of operation that's going on there. And we certainly, you know, get approval from the city on any of the, you know, pedestrian zones that that are set up around our work sites. So I don't foresee that for a while.
Okay, thank you. So we talked about mitigating noise for the trains itself, but Leslie's wondering, given so many people are working from home, kids, teachers, etc., what plans are there in place to mitigate noise from the construction itself? Is there anything that they are currently doing that is done slightly differently, would not have such a noise impact? Has this ever been considered? If not, why not?
Yeah, so those are really important. And we realize when you're building a project this size and this magnitude, and it's in close proximity to residential homes and communities, it's disruptive. So it's all sorts of things. It's the scheduling of the work. It starts with schedule off the bat to making sure that as much as possible that we keep the noisy work during the day. We limit the work that we do evenings and overnights, and so we do that as much as possible. So it's that planning. We do. You see along Richmond that. And around the whole park that we've got echo barriers up, and you know, that we can't get those up fast enough for people. So we're really working hard to make sure that we've got the whole perimeter of Byron Linear Park wrapped in echo barriers. We put echo barriers around equipment. Whether they're generators, because those are often they're a nuisance to folks because they're going. So we do that as much as possible. One thing we did do is we've worked to bring in power, direct drop lines from Hydro Ottawa. Again, those generators are a tremendous nuisance to folks. So we've brought that in at a huge expense, but that again eliminates the need for generators and the like. It's all our equipment is new, and so that's also an important contributor as well. That and to the extent as possible that you know, vac trucks that we're used, you know, to the extent that we can use newer model vac trucks, which when we're using those to identify utilities that have to be moved. So we're always looking at the best and most innovative ways to reduce noise as much as possible, recognizing it can't be eliminated due to the nature of the activities and things like that. But we're always using best practices and always continue to innovate to make it easier for folks living nearby.
If I may, Jamie, you've mentioned a few things to me. A policy that Kev has is a no idling policy. So in the winter, that's one thing that you can't really get around because of the cold. But in the summer, those vehicles that idle outside of your room or your house, that shouldn't occur. Please let myself or Jess know. Another thing is that Kev has a rule for their contractors, their subs, and their subs of subs. All those vehicles are equipped with broadband beepers. Yeah. So instead of the beep, 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 you got a and it's not quite as, you know, it's there for safety, it's important. But those sorts of mitigations, those sorts of efforts, those are not required. Yeah. Those are the advantages of a contractor who cares.
Great. And the one final thing is that it sort of captures all this stuff is that, you know, we said we got lots of workers on site. We do have regular meetings with them and what we call toolbox talks. And so we're reminding them to be good neighbors, because there's nothing that drives people crazy more than when someone comes in at to start their shift at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that particularly when you get a nicer weather, they've got the boom box going in the car and it's the loud music, and they get out and slam the door or shove the back of the pickup truck and stuff like that. We remind people to be good neighbors, because we're very fortunate to be working in a great community and getting a great project done, but we don't want to wear a welcome with folks that that are impacted by work.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay.
Leslie's asking, have any of the workplace construction COVID outbreaks been associated with LRT construction? If so, what steps is the city taking to ensure there are no further outbreaks?
I think I can speak for our side. We're lucky enough, we haven't had any project-related outbreaks. We've been extremely lucky. We attribute that to the stringent policies and the adaptability of our entire team. Safety is not a foreign concept to us, so it has been, obviously a challenge, but we've constantly modified and changed our procedures. So we've been quite lucky. It obviously puts a strain on what we do every day and how we do it. In a normally busy workday, it kind of creates difficulties with meetings and just in the field for folks. But yeah, we've been really lucky, and I'll let the city speak for their side.
Yeah, I mean, the stakeholder relations side, we are very much still working from home. So I actually started with the project this past December, so haven't even met in person any of my new colleagues. So I can say with certainty that we have not experienced a workplace outbreak.
Okay, thank you. From David and Carol Curtis, why are there no sound or dirt barriers along the construction area fence lines adjacent to the Continental, both on Richmond Road and also on Cleary Avenue?
Just a point. Is the Continental not over 25 stories? How tall is the Continental?
Wouldn't be much we could do there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a sound wall or a berm really doesn't do much effort once you get past that height, is one of those unfortunate realities.
I would say for the dust, we certainly have options in terms of if dust becomes a problem, like, a fair ways from our project, I would advise you to log that issue with our stakeholder team here, and we can certainly look into it. And then Cleary, I think similarly with the height, but as work moves along with our water main and our manholes, we're able to probably put up some different fencing, potentially some barriers as well. I think it can certainly help the people on the ground level. But that's just part of, as fast as we can get those out, as the utilities work moves along, we're going to be able to realign our barriers and our fencing and our echo barriers in some of these pockets that haven't got it yet. So things are really moving forward. So hopefully we'll get that addressed soon.
Thank you, Jen. So we are now at 9 o'clock. I have almost got through all of the questions that were sent beforehand, and I see 55 more in the Q&A. Now, I assume there's probably some duplication, but as I mentioned before, Jessica and Damon and I will work on getting all these in a one-stop shop Q&A blog post on kitchensippiward.ca. Again, the presentation will be up on our website as well, and this video will be on the Kitchensippi Ward YouTube channel. As we thank you all for coming, as we close, I would like to hand it off to Sybil Powell of the McKellar Park Community Association for some words. Sybil.
Yes, on behalf of the McKellar Park Community Association, I want to thank Jeff Leeper for his help in getting this meeting organized, and Tom Peshoff from Jeff's office, who did a lot of the work. He talked to people, got them to come out tonight to speak to us. He negotiated with Jeff to get the Zoom, and he also discussed it at length with us how this meeting should go. We'd also like to thank the City of Ottawa officials and KEV officials who gave up their time this evening to come out and give this presentation and answer questions. And we thank David Brosco from our association who helped get all the questions collected and pass them on to Tom and the people to be. And we also thank Councillor Kavanaugh for attending. There have been a lot of questions, and we haven't had time to get all the answers, but we've been assured that they will be coming in the near future. Thank you to everyone for sending them in. We've all learned a lot tonight. We've been overwhelmed by how many people have taken part in this presentation tonight and shown up. It shows that the people that live near the LRT, where it's being built, that we're aware of it and we're worried about it and want to know what's going on. And hopefully we can have another one of these sessions, perhaps in late summer, early fall, to hear what the plans are going forward. And basically we want to thank everyone for coming, and it's been a really good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sybil. And before I hand it off to Jeff for some final words, Councillor Kavanaugh, I saw your hand.
Oh, no, I was waving. Oh, but hey, you told me to speak, I'll speak. No, what a great turnout. Great to see what's happening on the other side of Sherbourne. And as we're all connected together, we had a fantastic presentation on Tuesday night. Very detailed, lots of work going on. You just got a small taste of it, I'll tell you, because we're going all the way to Moody and there's lots happening. So very, very exciting. So I'm pleased to see what's happening here. So thank you for a great evening, very informative.
Thank you. And finally, Jeff Lieber.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much to city staff, KEV staff who are in attendance tonight. We hear in the office your concerns, and to the extent that I can, I try to work with residents to mitigate some of those. There's some really disruptive work going on around Sherbourne right now. Councillor Kavanaugh and I have talked about that. I've talked about it with staff. I've talked about noise issues with some of my colleagues in the East End who are also experiencing noise issues. So we'll continue working on those. The vibration issues that you're telling me about as well along the parkway are concerning to me, and we're pursuing answers on that. I would encourage folks to, if they have questions, feel free to reach out to Jessica if you're in Kitchissippi, or to Damon if you are in Bay Ward. They will get you answers. The email back doesn't always come same day. But they will get you the answers that they're looking for. This presentation, as Tom said, I'll be sure to distribute with my newsletter this week. The request from Chuck, Charles Davies, with regards to smaller and more meetings, there is a sort of limited capacity to host a lot of meetings, particularly when we start involving the various different stakeholder relations folks. The meetings become kind of higher stakes when they're public meetings, with a lot more preparation that gets involved. I would encourage you, Chuck, if you have questions about what's going on this week, to please write to Jessica, who can fill you in. I'm often interested in the answer myself. But thank you very much for everyone for attending. This is an exciting project. I am looking forward very much to its completion. It's going to make a huge change in the ward, and Tom and I will try to make it as livable as possible in the meantime. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And with that, thank you all for coming, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all for your professionalism and your time.
Thanks, Damon. It's good to see you.
And you as well, Sybil.
Thanks, team. See you soon.
Sybil's having trouble figuring out how to get out of here. Get out of it, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sybil's having trouble figuring out how to exit, I think.
Okay. She just has to. I think there's a. I mean, I have a red thing in the bottom right hand corner where I just hit end, and I'll end it all for everybody. I just haven't done it yet because I'm cutting and pasting, copying and pasting all the questions from the Q&A. So,
Tom, before we leave,
yeah,
I just want to say how much I think Sybil and David appreciate all the work you did on this.
Oh, that's my pleasure. My pleasure.
You did a lot of work. You don't always get the credit you deserve, so I just want to make sure you know that we really do appreciate everything you did. Getting all these people here, assembling the questions, doing it all, and all the organization that was necessary. Thanks very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dan.
And we'll talk to you soon.
You bet.
I want to talk to you soon about the potholes.
Yeah, absolutely. We can figure it out. We're
grateful for this, but it won't necessarily show up in our conversation on the podcast.
I would expect nothing less.
Okay, Tom. Talk to you soon.
Right, you bet.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.